Hello, Nicolay, and welcome back to the fourth episode of The Shield. I'm Kat.
And I'm Kennedy, and today we're here to talk about what's it like to be in school online versus in class, the winter sports, the live sports, and COIL's interim principal for second semester.
Let's start with one of the changes we'll be seeing second semester. Students were offered the choice as to whether they want to go back in person or continue online. Here's Becca with the story.
Nicolay High School is offering the option to go in person second semester. Dr. Greg Kavara, the superintendent, is planning this transition.
We wanted to maintain a remote option for students and families that their situation prevents them from being in person. First thing was to maintain a remote option. The remote learning should be very similar to what students are experiencing right now. As many teachers as we can get into the remote model, fully remote teaching, they will have that experience. So, for example, an English teacher, English 910 and American Lit, that teacher would teach all those students their remote classes, very similar to first semester. So it should be similar, trying to allow those students that have been successful to maintain consistency within that program. Second thing, we wanted to make sure that there are some students who we believe their needs aren't being met through the remote option, either academic or social emotional, or just even connecting on a regular basis. The in-person teachers will be as much in person as possible. Some classes, specialty classes that are single offerings, those would have to be offered concurrently, where students are in the classroom and some students are watching remotely. We just don't have enough staff and or periods in the day to split those classes into both remote and in person. So we wanted to provide that opportunity for students to have a choice to come back in person. And the other component that we're considering is we do want to phase back into school. We've been remote, and at some point we will go back to a full in-person model, and that might not be till fall or later on, but at this point we wanted to just start that phase in and start getting teachers and students used to being back in the building. There's a tremendous amount of work that has gone into place for policies and practices and communications on mitigation. So it's really reinventing school in a new situation.
The Nicolay School District has clearly put a lot of thought into the online and in-person options for second semester.
Next up, we have another topic relating to online settings, winter sports.
Mary took a look at winter sports this year.
Fall sports have wrapped up, and that means winter sports are starting up. I talked with Mr. Krachowiak, the athletic director, about the winter season and how it's different from last year.
Okay, so winter sports has already started. In the winter, we have boys and girls basketball, we have boys swim, we have wrestling, we have boys and girls ski teams, gymnastics, dance, and cheer, and both boys and girls hockey. Each sport has their own set of guidelines and restrictions that we took from the CDC, from the WIAA, and the North Shore Conference. Number one is the mask mandate that indoors, everyone has to wear a mask at all times, including the athletes, including the spectators, including the officials, including the game workers, at all times, no exceptions. If someone who showed up at practice tests positive, that's a different scenario than if someone just had close contact. We're very transparent about this, and we let all the parents and all the participants know, both in the high school athletics and in the recreation programming, if something happens.
One of the things we've done in all the practices to try to minimize the risk is that people practice in smaller groups so that if someone does test positive, say on the football team, they're only working with 3 or 4 other football players in close contact, so that if that person does test positive, only those 4 get quarantined instead of the whole team.
Fall sports season went well. I think us at Nicolay did a really good job. We only had one shutdown because of COVID reasons in our very last football game. We traced it back to a game against West Bend West. We had to shut down and miss our last game. But other than that, all of the fall sports went without any cancellations. The difference is a lot of the fall sports are outdoors. We have a spectator policy in place that all the schools in North Shore Conference have. It's limited, obviously, so that we can make sure that we can social distance properly and avoid large gatherings. Every athlete in a sport is afforded 2 spectator passes for immediate family.
Unfortunately, we're not able to have students come at this point, nor the public, but we
did set up live streaming for all winter events. I think especially when you're in a situation where school is remote, I think high school kids need to have access to their friends, access to some sort of normalcy during this time. And I think athletics, as long as it's done safely, gives those kids that opportunity. It seemed like our fall participation numbers were up for athletics this year, maybe partly due to the fact that, the students weren't in school, so they needed some sort of social interaction, which we all know is mentally healthy. So I'm excited to see high school students get an opportunity to have some sort of normal high school before the end of the year.
It's great to see the Knights still persevering through rough times.
Exactly. And for anyone interested in watching winter sports, Nathaniel will explain how we are capturing these events live for your enjoyment.
Due to COVID, Nicolay has been live streaming sports since September, and they're quite the spectacle. But have you ever wondered who works behind the camera? We sat down with Nate Brooks to get a behind-the-scenes look. How do you live stream the sporting events?
2 different ways of doing it. In Gym 1, which is the main gym, gym in front of the school, we use a camera called the Huddle camera. It's mounted to the ceiling of Gym 1, and it can broadcast every game that's in Gym 1. So volleyball, basketball, wrestling, sports like that. And then we also live stream gymnastics and swimming. And for those, we don't have cameras mounted in those facilities. So what we do is we have a high school student, a Nicolay student, that videos and live streams the games. We just use an iPad, and they live stream the games there. And then both the Huddle camera and the iPad, we stream it to the Night Vision network.
How do you keep the energy of a live sporting event when you're live streaming it?
It's a big challenge for us. I think we have real good equipment, like, the Huddle camera and the iPad and everything. And, we try to incorporate the sound as much as possible, so listeners and viewers can really pick up the sound and everything. And it's really been working out great. It's good for families that can't make it to the game, and it's good for extended families can't make it either. We've gotten emails and calls saying that so-and-so's grandparents from Florida, watched the game last night or lost on everything. And, we average a lot of views. So we have, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 people, watching each contest.
What is the most challenging part about live streaming sports?
Basketball and volleyball, the easiest sports to stream, because that Huddle camera is focused basically on movement on the ball. So it can really pick up, the movement from the volleyball and basketball players. I'd probably say wrestling is the most challenging, because the Huddle camera is really not designed for wrestling, because it picks up movement. So if there's any movement like in the background and everything like that, it may pick up on that. But gymnastics too is another challenge, because we have, sometimes there's a couple events going on at the same time. But all in all, it's been very positive, and we've gotten positive feedback from families and competitors and opposing teams and everything. So are doing a good job with that.
Next time you find yourself watching a Nicolay sports event on YouTube, thank the crew.
Beyond sports, there's another big thing that's happening at Nicolay, this time with the administrative position.
That's right. Starting next semester, Coyle will become our interim principal. Jimmy went to learn more.
As you may know, Mr. Coyle is becoming the interim principal of Nicolay. Today I talked to him about the switch and what he plans to do in his new position.
Well, my name is Mr. David Coyle. I'm the associate principal. I'll be taking over as principal January 4th officially. And I think as a school, I think we've been doing well with remote instruction and remote learning. I think it's been a very difficult year for everybody. I mean, none of us got into education as staff members and leaders. We didn't get into education to not be around kids, but I think we've done a good job with remote learning, and our teachers have done a good job adjusting and learning different ways to provide instruction. When March 13th hit, and we made that announcement over the PA that schools would be closed until, I can't remember the date. There's kids running around the hall and screaming and high-fiving and thinking it would be great. And I think every one of those kids right now would love to be here. I want to provide some stability between now and the end of the school year. I know with two wonderful leaders leaving mid-year, there can be this perception that things are unstable or things are wrong, and that's certainly not the case. I'm definitely looking forward to continuing to see how we can continue to provide high quality education for our kids. I am looking forward to seeing students.
Well, that concludes the interview. It sounds like Mr. Coyle is ready for this new position, and we wish him good luck.
As Principal Dorgan moves on to new opportunities, we'd like to thank him for his time here at Nicolet.
And thank you for watching this episode of The Shield. We'll be back with more stories very soon. Enjoy your winter break.